After them came a generation who abandoned prayer and followed lust. We will throw them into the valley of Gaia in hell.
Ibn Abu Dunya narrated that Gaia is a valley in hell. El-Baihaqi narrated that it is a great river of boiling water in hell, and it is the place where those who give in to their lusts will be thrown.
Whoever does these things will face a severe punishment, Asam.
Hammam narrates that Abu Qatada said, Assam is the name of a valley in hell. Luqman bi Amir narrated from Abu Umama that Gaia and Assam are two streams in the lower level of hell, from which flows the pus of the inhabitants of hell. In another narration, Luqman bi Amir writes that Abu Umama narrated from the Prophet that he said, They asked the Prophet, What is gaiety and Assam? He said, It is a well from which the cries of the inhabitants of hell rise.
And you were at the brink of a fiery pit, and he saved you from it. And beware of the day he will say, Call upon those you claimed were my associate gods. So they will call them, but will receive no response, and we will make them all share in the same doom.
Yazid bi Dirham narrated that Anas said about this verse, It is a valley of pus in hell. It is a river of pus and blood in hell. Abdullah bin Amr said, It is a deep valley in hell. Ibn Abbas said, There is a deep valley in hell. It is called Whale. It is a valley where the pus of the inhabitants of hell is mixed. Tirmidhi narrates that Abu Sa'id said that the Prophet said, Whale is a valley between two mountains. The disbeliever descends down it for 40 years before reaching its bottom. Ibn Hibban and Hakim narrated in their Sahihs from Osama that the Prophet said, Whale is a mountain of fire in hell. Abu Iyad said, Whale is a valley from which pus flows. Ibn Jarir narrated that Abu Iyad said, Whale is a pool at the base of the mountains of hell, from which flows the pus of the inhabitants of hell. According to the verses and hadiths, there are valleys in hell called Whale, Gaia, and Assam. Valley means a place, a long stream between two mountains. A riverbed, and so forth. As it is understood, hell is divided into regions. There are regions that have valleys. There are also regions without valleys. The valleys called Whale, Gaia, and Assam are regions with mountains, cliffs, and streams. In these streams, the pus and blood from the bodies of the people of hell will flow like rivers and pour into the wells in these streams, creating pools of pus and blood. So what are these valleys? The visible surface of the sun is divided into two different areas, active and quiescent. As is known from scientific studies, the polarity of the sun's overall magnetic field changes with time. The polarity of this field is close to 1 Oersted. Over time, the strengthening of the sun's magnetic field by as little as 10 and as much as 100 Oersteds leads to the emergence of brighter areas in the photosphere, called torches. According to scientists, These torches of bright fibers are temporary mountains made of gases of one type or another. A slight strengthening of the magnetic field in the areas of the torches produces sunspots. The tension of the magnetic field in the spots varies between 1,000 and 4,500 Oersted. Sunspots are very deep crater-shaped pits. Torches are interesting patterns of bright fibers fused into solar pits. And these torch mountains are more durable than spots. Torches form on the solar surface more quickly than spots and remain on the solar surface for several tens of days after the spots disappear. The area in the solar circle, where there are mountains of bright torch derivatives, consisting of countless veins, bright spots, and knots, and the sun's spot pits are the active areas of the sun. The areas where torches and spots are present appear even brighter in the sun's atmosphere. The areas without torch mountains and spot wells are considered quiet areas. From this we see that there are regions of the sun that are active areas and there are quiet regions. Among the active areas are the sun's spot pits and the torch mountains surrounding them. The valleys of hell, that is, the areas where the pool wells are located in the mountains and the streams between them, are the active areas surrounding the stain wells in the streams of the sun's torch mountains. When the sun is viewed through a special telescope, it is revealed from the images taken from the sun that the granules in the surrounding areas of the sunspots are surrounded by canyons, i.e., deep, narrow streams with cliffs and plateaus, i.e., walls 100 kilometers high with millions of gigantic streams. These 100-kilometer high torches transform the areas of the sun where they are stabilized into mountainous valleys. These mountainous valleys of the sun are the valleys of hell. Hadiths say that the pus and blood from the bodies of the inhabitants of hell will flow into these valleys like rivers and spill into the wells there. And in these wells there will be pools of pus and blood. The surface of the sun is changing its position. When we look at sunspots, we realize that they are moving from one place to another. So the surface of the sun rotates around its axis. Unlike at the poles, the sun rotates rapidly at the equator. One revolution of the plasma streams at the equator takes about 25 Earth days, while one revolution of the plasma at the poles takes about 35 Earth days. Apart from the fact that the sun's plasma streams rotate at such different speeds, it is also known that the streams of the sun's surface move in different directions. This computer diagram shows how electrically charged gas flows like rivers under the sun's surface, near the surface and above the surface. The different speeds of the river flows on the sun are shown in symbolic colors. The flows in the red areas are faster than those in the blue areas. Over the course of a year, the plasma is displaced from the equator to the poles by these flows. In addition to such flows, the surface of the sun also has internal flows, which lift gas from the deep inner layers of the sun. The plasma streams of the sun's surface flow and spill into the spots in their path. The valley of the sun is the active regions, the areas where the torch mountains coexist, surrounding the wells into which the plasma streams are poured. This is the Valley of Hell. The pus and blood that will flow from the bodies of the inhabitants of Hell will mix with the plasma streams on the surface of the sun of Hell and form rivers of pus and blood. These rivers will flow from different places and spill into the stain wells around the Torch Mountains, creating pools of pus and blood. These pools will have areas larger than planets.
Soon I will drive him to the difficult Saud, the mountain of fire with a steep slope.
In the hadith narrated by Imam Ahmad, Darak Abu Haytham says that Abu Sa'id said the Prophet said the following about the interpretation of this verse. Saud is a mountain of fire. The disbeliever is forced to ascend it. When he puts his hand on the mountain, it melts, and when he removes his hand, it returns to its previous state. When he puts his feet on it, the mountain melts again. The disbeliever ascends it in 70 years. After ascending, it takes him 70 years to descend back to hell. Thus, he will be tormented in hell for eternity. Tirmidhi briefly narrated that the word Saud in the verse is the name of a mountain of fire. Ibn Abbas said Saud is a mountain in hell.
But he did not overcome the Aqaba, the steep slope.
Ibn Umar said in the commentary of this verse, the slope of the Aqaba is a swaying mountain. The fire mountain of hell called Saud, and the slope of the swaying mountain called Aqaba, are these torch mountains of the sun. The plasma protuberances that have risen like mountains of melting fire have the appearance of real mountains. The mountain-like fiber protuberances in this picture are about 20 worlds in diameter. Strong winds in the solar atmosphere shake these mountains.
Whoever incurs my wrath will surely fall into the abyss and be miserable.